I say!
What the blazes were they doing in there? Hello, dear viewers. For lack of any other inspiring material today, I'd like to talk to you about an indeterminate number of my favorite bands. Let's start off immediately with Metallica. And I shall liken these all to drinks for no particular reason. Metallica is quite possibly my favorite band of all time. They've written my favorite song, great instrumentals. The vocalist can at once be clean and incredibly raged and growly. And for this reason, I believe that Metallica is like a fine scotch. Many nuances. One never really gets the same experience twice when drinking a good scotch. One just goes, ah, peaty, ah, sweet, floral, ooh, smoky. And so you have all the various flavors of Metallica, except for St. Anger, of which I shall never speak again. My favorite song of theirs of all time is, without a doubt, called Ktulu, which is a fantastic instrumental which just goes da-da-da-da-da-da-da and other amusing things, and I'll put a link over there. In fact, I think in this one I'll just put links for one song from each band. Second band is Blind Guardian, and these guys are fantastic. Hansi Kirsch can really do incredible things with his voice, and their lyrical themes would really make them stand out as a band because they draw their inspiration almost entirely from sci-fi and fantasy. Oh, and likening them to a drink, I say they're like a margarita. Not something one normally does, not something quite generic, rather unique, and definitely a strong, distinct flavor, even if it's only really one direction. Blind Guardian are the things that have inspired them. Something written by Stephen King, Damned for All Time, which has to do with Elric, and his soul-sucking sword Stormbringer. Try saying that 5 times fast. Soul-sucking sword Stormbringer, soul-sucking sword Stormbringer, and on and on and on. Fall the Guard of Eden, the general works of Michael Moorcock, with the Fellowship of the Ring after Gandalf falls into the chasm with the Balrog. And Dune, all about Dune. Lord of the Rings is about... Oh wait, Lord of the Rings, duh. E.T., Blade Runner, The Hobbit, and Age of False Innocence has to do with Galileo saying, "Oi, the Earth moves." The Popes go, "Nah, the Earth's staying still." And Galileo says, "Hey, Pope, you're a fucker." And there you are. So these guys really like Tolkien, and they do seem like Stephen King quite a lot. Now, one of their masterpiece albums, even though it's not my favorite of theirs, it's definitely a good one, Nightfall of Middle-earth, is entirely about the Silmarillion. Then my next favorite band, Blind Guardian and Iron Maiden are more or less tied for second. Iron Maiden. If these guys were a band, they'd just be straight up Jack Daniels. Hard, burning, and quite, well, very popular for a good reason. They draw their inspiration from historical themes. They did one album around the superstition of someone being the seventh son of a seventh son having magical powers. And their best album is easily Number of the Beast. They also wrote a 14-minute song about the Rime of the Ancient Mariner almost, with a really cool bass line and you know, it really creates the right atmosphere for each different part of the story, which they do sort of well. And I like the Bruce Dickinson, this is their lead vocalist. The Bruce Dickinson's intro to the song in concert is, and the moral of the story is this is what not to do when a bird shits on you, which I think is very, very apt. And now for the next band, Judas Priest, who are, no doubt, a very, 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 very strong lager, in my mind. What kind of lager would they be? 151 proof rum, yeah, that's it. Painkiller has the guy who's riding on a motorcycle with razor blades instead of wheels, which is really fucking awesome. The song Painkiller, which you've probably played in Rock Band, where Rob Halford goes, "My vocal range, let me show you it," and then proceeds to go, blah, which will make sense when you hear it. And these guys are also the ones that define heavy metal, which is why they're a beer, because, yeah, they are a beer, because beer basically defined alcohol for the human race. Because their album, British Steel, has such wonderful songs as Breaking the Law, Metal Gods, Grinder, United, Living After Midnight, Don't Have to Be Rise, and they're all really good. They also have Hellbat for Leather, notable mention from one of their earlier ones. This album basically defined heavy metal with them going, hey, we're not going to be rhythm and blues anymore, we're going to be a new genre. How are we going to do? Well, we have our sort of sound that's emerging from rhythm and blues. What if we drop the rhythm and blues bits and refine it? They go, huh, okay. And there you have British Steel, which came out in 1980. Very, very, very important album. And then we have an interesting band called Primal Fear. It's very complicated. It's like a good gin and tonic, which I actually don't like gin usually, but when someone makes me a good gin and tonic, I appreciate it. And a lot of their stuff seems to be protesting about the wars with George Bush, and I don't blame them. For instance, there's this one song of theirs, Blood on Your Hands, where the lines, your promised razor blade is turned into a blunt bread knife. And it's like, hey, that's about the war in Iraq, because George Bush is being an idiot. And finally, Godsmack, who they're not the last group of one that's group because they're the least good. They're fantastic. Their lead vocalist is probably one of my chief influences in my own singing style, which I'm still not going to do unless I get some serious requests now. So, comments. Godsmack actually would not be an alcoholic beverage. If they would be one where the alcohol wasn't exactly the main point. I see something smooth and rich, like a latte. Yeah. Not this isn't meant to be offensive in any way at all, but say perhaps a latte that had been spiked with pure ethanol to the point that while the ethanol was not tasteable, it certainly affected you. That's what it is, a good latte from Second Cup. And one of their best songs that shows Sully Erna's haunting voice is Voodoo. They've also done such songs which are more ragey and growly and screamy. Well, not really screamy, yelly. I wouldn't want to say screamy. Screamy is Primal Fear. But yelly, and such songs as I Stand Alone, and I should know this. Whiskey Hangover is one of their recent singles, which I rather like. Fantastic songs all around. And yes, these are not the only 7 bands I listen to. There's the ones that even come to mind as being the most outstanding overall. Anyway, dear viewers, remember this. If outside was so great, mankind would have spent millennia perfecting inside. Good day.